Hello. 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 All right. What's up, everybody? Hello. God. Good to see you. Whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you are. Um, Thursdays. Thursdays analysis stream. Game analysis stream with subscribers. If you're a subscriber, you can submit one of your games to analyze here on the stream. I have 5 such submissions from Mr. Coffee Morales, who's a VIP. Both of them are VIPs. Arsenal fan, who would be in a VIP if it wasn't for the fact that he's been banned from the stream for 17 times. And then Yobatis, who's good on behavior, and then our director submitted a Blitz game he played. I've got 5 games so far, but there's still room for some more. If there are any other subscribers left, on the agenda for today's meeting, World Senior 2026. We're still continuing to collect money for that fund. October World Senior. Yep, that's in Serbia. So, all right, let's do it. We got 5 games to start with here on the stream. First one I found interesting. This was hope this is the right game. Mr. Coffee versus Maya. There was crazy endgame in this one. E10, not sure to be online for the analysis. That's okay. Yeah, just leave your computer on so that we get credit for another viewer and your little brother too. All right, what's up, Chess Riddler? So I got Mr. Coffee Maya Morales, Arsenal fan, Yobatis submitting Paul Kires. So we got a master game for the stream. Paul Kires versus Peter Daly, and I think did I forget somebody? Very likely. Miro on the Edge game. That's the game. He always submits his games against Arsenal fan. And okay, cool. All right, that's it for now. So this was the game Mr. Coffee played, and the opening isn't really important, but there was a really fascinating, I thought, kind of funny end game that we might want to take a look at. So we don't have to spend too much time on this whole game. It's just a game. Mr. Coffee's playing this Maya bot, and what I like, Mr. Coffee often plays training games against engines and computers, but the Maya is well, I mean, it's like, learning, whatever, AI. What do you call it? Whatever, like Alpha Zero, And it's I guess this opening repertoire is based on like Lichess games. Oh man, NPC. Bro, your game's right there. What's the problem now? Your game's right there. It's the 3rd game. I did not take your game. What did I do wrong now? You just got here. You didn't say hi. Nothing like that. Just you did not do this right. You did not do that right. You guys can't see my. Okay, so the way the board is set up, you can't see. I see. I'm just like assuming you see what I see. Can you see what I see? So you can't see the side of the board where it shows the chapters. Don't worry, we've got you covered. But don't say hi or greetings or anything like that. You know. All right. So Mr. Coffee was first. Morales was second. You're only third this week, man. NPC. Yobatis is fourth, and our director just sent me a game. Gonna have to get up pretty early to beat Mr. Coffee. So Mr. Coffee sent in this game against Maya, d4, d5. Now, if you pay me extra, our old subscriber Nils used to do this. If you want to pay me extra, you can bribe me to do your game first. We haven't had one of those in a while, but I'm flexible, you know. If you want to bribe me, I could do your game first, but we're gonna need something to bribe me with, you know, sex, money, alcohol, gambling, drugs, real estate, food, something, you know. But anyway, all right. So d4, d5, knight f3. Mr. Coffee's white. Maya is black. What I'm going to say about Maya is that it's 1900 rated like all these other engines, but most chess engines have a really bad sort of a handicap style. You know, they play like 2700s, except they just make a random blunder every 30 moves. That's not realistic. Um, that's not a realistic handicap mode. You know, the Maya has a much more human-ish kind of game. And you'll see this is actually a pretty close game. All right, so e6, c4. Mr. Coffee plays c4 now. Black plays d takes c4. This is a kind of unusual move order. I told Mr. Coffee when he showed me this game, it's Rubinstein Marshall. Because the thing that strikes me that's funny is like why is Black playing the Queen's Gambit Accepted on move 3? If you wanted to play the Queen's Gambit Accepted, why play on move 3? But okay, here there was no option to play it on move 2. So what happens if if you want to play the Queen's Gambit Accepted, you play e6 and hope they play c4 and then play the Queen's Gambit Accepted? Or like Kaidanov plays c5 against me, and then on c4 he might go like d takes c and transpose to a Queen's Gambit Accepted anyway, because that's White's best move. But anyways, all right, so e6, c4, d takes c4, not the best Queen's Gambit Accepted move order because White can play e4 here. But you know what's interesting? I thought about this position a lot when I looked at the old games, like I said, Rubinstein Marshall. This was played in like 1912. I don't remember. It's probably too early for Rubinstein Marshall now. Around there, you know. Maybe 1920. Maybe I'm wrong about 1912. Maybe it was like 1920. But okay, whatever. Rubinstein didn't. I don't believe he played e4. You'd think this would be like an acid test, but Black has this b5 here. This is a pretty good line for Black. Anyway, this is not the focus of this game. I want to focus on this really cool endgame. Mr. Coffee plays knight c3 now. This is a good move, but e3 also very common. Knight c3, Black can play c5, it does, and now Mr. Coffee can play d5. d5 here is c5 type of Queen's Gambit Accepted. White will usually follow up with e4, or often has e4 in already in these types of positions, but the d5 is actually a normal type of move. But that's it. I mean, you have three choices. You can play d5, you can play e3, just quietly protecting the pawn, or you can play e4, going into a sharper Karpov style setup. We're going to get this pawn back eventually. If e4, Black can play pawn takes pawn, and then even this type of endgame, Karpov famously won a really nice game against Serewan in this type of endgame where he just has his dominant pawn on e4. And it doesn't look like much, but actually this is a big advantage for White. It's a heavy pawn. I mean, it's like plutonium 108, whatever. I mean, this is a very strong pawn on e4, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon, and it can be anchored by f3. So it really gives White this the central pull. Anyways, Black plays c5, Mr. Coffee plays e3, and now the computer plays pawn takes pawn. And what should White recapture with here? How should White recapture? recapture with the question for you guys. No answer. Nobody's in the chat. The pawn. Yeah, it's the pawn. It's the pawn. You should recapture with the pawn because we have a full-bodied IQP position where all the pieces are on the board, which is kind of optimal. So after pawn takes pawn, knight f6, bishop takes c4. This is a Steinitz variation of the Queen's Gambit accepted, and this is the absolute standard IQP type position where white is a little better. The question was, which way should white recapture after pawn takes d4? With a pawn, with a knight, with a queen? Which way is the correct way to recapture? And the answer is there's only one good way to recapture that retains an advantage for white. And a lot of people don't understand middle game strategy, and they think that isolated pawns are bad. Dogmatically, this is a good isolated pawn. This is a monster under the bed. Very difficult to put too much pressure on this pawn. The maximum black can get is like the queen and the knight, and it's already protected twice. It can advance very easily and trade itself off, worst case scenario. So pawn takes the scrum. Mr. Coffee was uncomfortable with the isolated pawn. Played too dogmatically, took with the knight. And this move is okay, but you're not better after this. You go from being better to equal after knight takes d4. Maybe white has a half-tenth of a pawn, like a 1/20th of a pawn advantage here or something. I mean, it's almost nothing. Panev is one example of the IQP positions. But now black makes a mistake, and it's a very human-like mistake. And this is why I'm saying playing Maya is a good idea, and programs like it, or bots like it, because it's really making human-like mistakes, not playing like a grandmaster for 27 moves and then one kind of random blunder thrown in there. 1900s don't play like grandmasters for 26 moves in a row and then throw in a random mistake. 1900s make consistently small mistakes, and this is how Maya's playing. Here's a consistently mistake type of move, right? Looks good, but guess what? I mean, that's good for you, but it's bad for you too, because you weaken yourself on the light squares, and particularly d5 goes. Question about the IQP, IKP. IKPs are much more rare. Would you say it's even more dangerous for black? Yeah, I mean, the IKP, it's a rare thing. I mean, I can only think of a few examples, like the fantasy variation of the Caro-Kann that happens. I would think it's even more sharp, yeah. The IQP is usually queen pawn type games, not quite as open as, but they generally open positions favor the side with the isolated pawn. But this square is very big now. Mr. Coffee has this tempting move, knight b5, but there's a problem with knight b5, I think. Therefore, I am. That's the move that most people make. It's a forward move. It looks good. So, knight b5, not queen takes queen, and then black's in trouble. Or the face hugger after knight e6, the knight can't be removed from b5. White is clearly better. This is a problem, though. After knight b5, a6 is a problem. I don't know what white can do. White's kind of screwed. after this. White is a bad position. You know, unless there's some kind of fantastic, insane move here. I mean, I don't want to know what Chess Riddler would do. Like Queen H5 or something, sacrificing a piece, yeah. I'm sure that there's some unsound but fun thing you could try to come up with. But basically, the truth is that Knight B5 is a mistake, and this is the best move. Knight F3, you attack E5, and you attack C4, you're going to get one of your pawns back, and the position is about equal. Maybe it's more equal for white than for black. Queen takes D1 check. I'm not sure that's a good move, actually. But the thing is, like, you can't protect both pawns. I mean, you could try, but I don't trust it. I mean, Queen A4 check, just for starters, we get this pawn back immediately. So he trades queens, and then take with the knight or take with the king. Chess Riddle gifted tier 1 sub to Tactics Sand Swindles X. Thank you, Chess Riddler. Well, I think he's correct with the following capture. King takes because not so much C2, but E2. We're going to go to E2. And we're probably going to get this pawn on C4 because it can't be defended. So either we get C4 or we get E5. Black is a difficult position now. I was thinking maybe F6, but after this, I mean, these white squares are very weak. White is better. I'm not saying a lot better, but slightly better. Although black does have a strong pawn on E5. What's the advantage? Let's see. Point. That's standard. That's like absolutely standard. Thanks for the gift sub. So, black plays knight C6. White plays bishop takes C4. And now black makes a horrible move. Horrible. Like, truly horrible move for black now. I'm not saying it's easy to play black's position. Again, maybe it's actually quite difficult. But I don't like knight G5. I guess it's not a big deal. Like, you could play knight H6. There's this. There's this. But, you know, what's black's best move here? Can't play, I mean, knight F6 maybe, but then knight G5, you're going to have to play knight D8. I guess you could live with that. But then there's these sort of things. You know, how do you defend C7? So there's all sorts of problems. I'm thinking F6 is probably his best bet. Again, he didn't want to do that. So what does he do? He goes here, pinning the knight. Terrible move. Now Mr. Coffee, he meets a terrible move with a bad move. White's best moves in this position are H3, breaking the pin, or King E2, getting his king off the D file, I think. But I mean, we're gonna play H3 in the next move or so. So, whatever. But he plays King E1. This is very passive, blocking the rooks. Bishop takes F3, G takes F3. Now, this is a catastrophe for black. Black just gave up his best piece, best minor piece, with an E5 center. His pawn center is based on dark squares. The light squares are all weak. He already had problems with his white squares. Now it gets worse. He had to keep that bishop, maybe go back to H5 and try to protect F7 with it or something like that. He gives it up. Knight F6, bishop D2. Okay, I'll accept that. Bishop E4, kind of a reasonable move. And now I thought white will jump on this G file. Doesn't. Should. Every time you have a doubled pawn, you get a bonus. You get a half open file. And a lot of people don't look at it like that, but it's important. These are good pawns. And because they're connected in one unit. This H pawn isn't good, but it's so far back it's hard to attack. You know, unless Akiva Rubinstein is like walking up here with his king and a king and pawn in game, then you're lost. You know, but that's not likely to happen. Rook G1 is a good move. Mr. Coffee plays A3. Bishop takes C3, bishop takes C3, castles, Rook D1, Rook D8, King E2, where the king should have been anyway. Now black plays A6. And now white has very strong attacking chances along the G file and chances to undouble his pawns with f4, prying open that diagonal. The bishop's attacking on those diagonals. The king side, you know, h4, h5, rook g1, double on the g file, etc. But what does he do? Avni. So b4. That's not the right side of the board. You should be playing on the other side of the board. b4, b5. Anyway, this is just a good lesson game, but the point was the end game. I'll show you guys. So white has a really, really good advantage here. But I often talk about Dorfman's idea of piece tandems. So most people know the queen and knight are a good combination. Rook and bishop are the second most powerful like piece tandem. Rook and bishop coordinate very well together. What are you talking about? Are you following here? He's like giving a separate lecture in the side hall over there. It's good. It's good. It's fine. Did you send it to me? Are you like chat banned or something? Did you send it to me? You're not chat banned, are you? I didn't block you. Only here in the link. I didn't see a link. Was it before? It's fine. That's fine. Oh yeah, that's a great line. All right. The famous Dimsabitch creation. All right, back to where we're talking now. So the point is, if you have this kind of position with rooks on the board and there's no entry point, don't be a dogmatic noob and play rook d1. Bishops and rooks coordinate better than rooks and knights. Plus, trading pieces if you want to win is a bad idea. In general, if you're not up material, you want to win, you play rook g1 here. Mr. Coffee trades rooks, and this reduces his advantage. Rook d1, king f8, king d2, king e7, king d3. I checked this with the engine, and it was like with a stockfish. White is better, but it's probably a draw. But I was telling Mr. Coffee, you know, you have this f4. You have this f4 break. The rook on h1. No, I mean h4, h5 is a double-edged sword. If you play h4, if you play h5, you know, black will fix it with h6, and then you have to be responsible for that pawn on h5. I think h4, h5 loses value as, you know, like less rooks that are on the board, probably. I liked h4, h5 maybe with both rooks on the board the most. But I think the important thing here is f4. Finding a situation where f4 might work. I mean, maybe we could have engineered it with one rook on the board also. Stuff like rook g5, inducing g6, and helping us to support some tricks with f4. Like f4 doesn't work right away. Black plays knight d7, now bishop d5, now knight d8, now king e4. This is a little dangerous because you could get mated with your king in the wrong position. F6 now, weakening the light squares, but defending the e5 pawn. White is still clearly better. There's your h4, and this is not bad now because he's got h4, h5. maybe in the future h6 in the right situation might be an idea if you include f4. White is better. Knight b6, bishop b3, knight c4, and it's a huge blunder. So now black is holding. I believe I looked at this with the computer, and it said knight c6 and black is not lost based on the evaluation. By the way, we have f4 for the first time a move or so ago, or just now. Here. King e4 only works because of knight f6 check, king takes e5. Just important fact, right? Require tactics and calculation. King e4, f6. Now, for the first time, we have f4. And if you play f4, you undermine his strong point on e5. You also create imbalance in the pawn structure, Dr. Tripchance. And when you have bishops versus knights, you want to create imbalance in the pawn structure. Bishops like imbalanced pawn structures. Knights do not. Knights like symmetrical pawn structures and things like outposts. So when we create imbalance in the pawn structure, that favors white. Here, now the pawn structure is not aligned. So that means that white can create a passer. White has potential to create a passed pawn with e5. Passed pawns and bishops are a very good thing. Knights, not so much. So Mr. Coffee misses f4, plays h4, knight b6, bishop b3, and now black can try to hang on with like knight to c6. But I think this is important still, to illustrate he wasn't thinking about playing f4. He never played f4. And if he did, it was much, much later and it was too late. But undouble your own pawns, man. And I mean, this is a great undouble because it's his strongest pawn on e5. You're undoubling. White should absolutely play f4. So he doesn't. But black played knight c4. This loses. So white have gone bishop g8. Bishop g8 is an interesting move. But there is some trick. If you go bishop g8, you wouldn't be the first person to get like a bishop trap. If you go bishop g8, if black is really crafty, they might have like g6. Bishop takes h7, king f7. And threatening to trap the bishop with king g7. So this would be very sharp. And yes, you can bail out with h5, but then black takes the pawn on h5. So you can actually get free. And this would have created a very double-edged situation. For example, now f4, now pawn takes pawn, and we can't take back because of the freaking knight on d5 fork. So that's not good. So white would probably have to just come back, something like bishop f5. But white's better still. And again, we've achieved what we wanted to achieve. Outside pawn, not dangerous with knights. That's not dangerous. If we have an outside pawn, it's dangerous for him. His outside pawn isn't really dangerous with the knights. Eventually, I'm going to be able to play f4, undouble my pawns, and I'm going to have the better pawns. There's the zebra. So anyway, black blunders with knight c4. Good question about bishop g8. This loses, right? Takes, elementary, my dear Watson. It's over. This game should be over now. But this is where it just gets started. Black is lost. He's concretely losing a pawn. Has a bad knight compared to the bishop. White has a queenside majority. After winning c4, we have a clear passer on the queenside. No brainer. We should be winning, right? What happens? King d7, best move. King takes c4, king c6, best move. a4, knight b7, and now white played a move that I didn't fully understand. e4. Now, when I look at this position, I would play b5 pretty quickly. We want to control both the white and dark squares and get this pawn obviously as far advanced as we can, so it's a decoy. But I'm trying to understand why Mr. Coffee played e4, and now what I think about it, what this move does, pretty much like the only thing it does, is control the f5 square. In my mind, that tells me he was like worried about knight d6 check, knight f5. He played e4 because he was worried about black coming to like f5 with the knight, I would conclude. Isn't that dangerous anyway? But okay, it's an idea. But if you play b5 check here, ab5 check, king b6, bishop e4 dominating the knight, it's game over. This is game over. I mean, this guy is lost here. Yes, we'll probably have to jettison our pawn on b5 to penetrate with our king. But in the meantime, while he's taking our b5 pawn, we're going to win like almost all of his other pawns on the other side. They're all like sitting ducks. You know, so just imagine like knight d8, king d5, king takes b5, bishop f8. I mean, bro, this is over. This is over, man. It's totally lost. So, because you have g6 and bishop e7, the whole thing falls apart, you know? The whole structure falls apart and black's king's out of play. But he plays this, huge mistake, knight d6 check. Now his king's force back, where it's much less active, and now a very good move by the computer, h5. Well, Maya, you know, call it a computer. It's like an AI bot, whatever. Self-trained, learning, you know, okay, computer learning, whatever. Suddenly, all of a sudden, we're like, suddenly, all of a sudden, very good English by me. Holy shit, you know, like g5, h4, h3, h2, h1. Now all of a sudden there's some danger here. Mr. Coffee plays bishop d2 to stop or discourage g5. This is dangerous though. If black tries g5, we take, he plays h4. Our bishop can't get back to stop that pawn. You know, our king might be able to get back to stop the pawn just in time. So we're probably okay. g5's too early. Now it plays knight f7, supporting g5. Now this is serious. Now I don't know what white should do, but I would be lying if I really believe that now. White should play f4 again. White should be winning here after f4. This is a very important move. Where can we win? Queenside majority, distraction, you know, the decoy over here. We're winning with this. He's going to be spread too thin on both sides. So bishop e3, big mistake. And now I think that black has g5. So here, Maya didn't play like a conventional engine on handicap mode. Then it definitely would have played g5. And we didn't get an f4. g5 just screws us completely. Maybe white's like lost here. Maybe white's not lost, but I don't think that white's winning anymore. Because white, we can get back, you know, to stop like a passed pawn over here. But how are we going to make forward progress? I don't think like white is ever going to make progress now. We can't undouble our pawn. Just to show you how badly wrong this can go. Black doesn't play g5, but g5 is extremely strong. After g5, it's a draw, probably. All right, black plays knight d8. Still not a bad move. This is a good square too. And now Mr. Coffee goes forward. Christian soldiers. Knight e6, b5 check, take. And now a very interesting move by the computer and a good one. He doesn't go back to b7 where it's passive. He goes here, keeping the king out of d5, which is very useful. And now you got to consider b6 like a decoy. But I don't think it's fast enough. Black's coming with g5 too fast. So all of a sudden, it's like a total shit show. White is up a pawn here, and he might even be in trouble, honestly. I thought that it might even be like white is in trouble at this point. I would start, you know, shitting myself here because things are going to get very, very complicated. Like, say you jettison your pawn, like b6, king c6, b7, and it's like, oh yeah, white's winning, right? King d5. Well, is he? After g5, just to illustrate a point, knight g5. It's a great idea. Yeah, knight g5 is a move too, and I think the computer points this out. Really cool idea. I mean, in that case, I think we're all right, though. White is f4. I think there was a variation the computer analyzed like this, where the best move for white is not taking with the pawn, it's not taking with the bishop, it's f4. And after f4, the game is like approximately equal and probably a draw. Yeah. No, knight g5 is a remarkable move, and it's totally plausible. But I thought like g5. G5, look what this leads to. You guys ready? This is the coolest variation ever. It's possible knight g5 is the best move, and it may be a draw. I think that's the actual evaluation. But just for argument's sake, I wanted to look at g5, right? What happens after g5? H takes g5. Are you ready for this? Wait. G5. H takes g5. I didn't go beyond this. I thought I analyzed beyond this. I got g5, hg5. Okay, h4. I did a different move order. b7, it transposes. Here, I went this far. Okay. This is a similar example. G takes f6, h3, king d5, h2, king takes e6, h1 queen, f7, queen h3 check, king f6, queen h8 check, king g6, king takes b7. Black is lost. Just, oh, by the way, black is lost. Unbelievable. That's why I wanted to show this game, because this endgame is so messed up. You think, well, it has to be like, maybe it's a draw, right? Maybe it's a draw. Black is just totally lost. He has no checks. Yeah, and so your knight g5, the knight g5 was like the best move. I think this is a draw. And this actually loses for black. But I think like most people, I would be surprised, honestly, after like this. What do we got? G takes 6. This is the other line. Check this out. Okay, G takes f6, knight f8, king takes e5. Okay, this h3, bishop f4, e6 check, king f5, knight takes f4, king takes f4, h2, game over. It's crazy, man. And you would think like you were lost with white after g5. But when hg5, knight g5, this is the draw, has the similar line f4. And the same thing happens there on knight g5. Yeah, it's easy. G5 is a draw because you take back with it. Or you could just play knight g5. Easy draw. If hg5, h4, game over. So I just thought a fantastic, game position. I mean, how do you find a position like this? White's king is better, clearly better. The bishop's like dominating the knight very nicely. You assume like white is clearly better. The only thing about white's position is that he has the doubled pawns, but usually on a defensive level, the doubled pawns aren't really bad, you know? They're just not able to create pass pawns. But from most examples I've seen, they're not a tragedy defensively as long as you're stopping this guy's pawns. But the alignment is such that black can do a pass pawn really quickly. So anyway, yeah, knight g5 spotted by you guys. In the game, that's not what happened. He played bishop b6. All black is clearly better. g5. Obviously, he just totally missed this. Now the question is, can you get back? But the answer is what? Like knight f4 check? Hasta la vista? If you try to get back, kablamo, cutting you off, e2. Game over. So Mr. Coffee's like lost after bishop b6. He was probably in time pressure, g5, hg5, fg5, and now White's only move. Well, White's probably lost. The best chance is f4, though, ironically. The best chance is f4. It's too late to save the game. b6, c6, b7, king b7, king5. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily resign here if we get all those pieces. Say we tell it stuff, and he has a queen versus bishop and 3 pawns. I mean, is there a chance that's a draw? Let's say, yeah, h3, k6, h2, c5, h1 queen, bishop h5, queen takes f3, bishop e3. Yeah, I wouldn't have enough. What if we have another pawn maybe on f5? I mean, how many pawns does White need here? Maybe a pawn on f5 and a pawn on d5? What if we have 4? What if we have 4 pawns? How many pawns do we need to hold with a bishop against the queen? Pawn on f5, maybe another one on d5. We'd have double passers. Anyway, I thought it was a really funny position. Okay, the next game is from Morales. That's why it's in Italian. Let me check my messages. Yeah. He said, is this okay for Thursday analysis? My loss in Over the Board today. Hoping it helps learning about endings. You found a chess club at Syracuse, bringing the kids as well. So Morales playing Over the Board, and he's living in Sicily, I believe. So he lost. He's black, but not a safe opening. Morales now plays. He's been playing some dangerous stuff. G6. G6 is a go for it, ultra hyper modern defense. It's a winning attempt, and I think a sharp thing to play. So you're not trying to play solid for a draw here. If you play this, you're going for the win. D4, bishop g7, and now White plays the ultra solid Geller's c3, which I sometimes play. And yeah, normally I would play d6 here with black, but I do struggle against this. I don't think that c5 is good. So your choices are like a weird Alekhine with knight f6, d5 as played in the game, and d6, or maybe c6. You could try to play a kind of Caro-Kann Gurgenidze variation. Oh, it's weird to play c6, c3. I can't imagine this is so bad. Okay, so Morales plays d5. So here you're hoping for White to take and transpose to a kind of like c3, what will likely become a c3 Sicilian. And I would expect that would happen most of the time, although a lot of people are also going to play e5. Space advantage players like Morales himself. Arsenal, we missed you yesterday. Space advantage players are going to be oriented toward playing e5. But I will comment that if you play e5, once I had a game like this with Joel Benjamin, although it was like a London system, my bishop was on f4, which didn't help. Again, one of my shame London systems. But if you play e5, remember, black can play c5 in one go. So it's better than a Caro-Kann Gurgenidze. We can save a tempo. Oftentimes it's like c6 and later c5. We're going c5 in one go here. This could also transpose to things like the accelerated dragon with c3. So, anyways, I would expect most players to play a pawn takes pawn. Now you play queen takes, and we're likely going to transpose to a c3 Sicilian. There are some cases where black can put the knight on h6, like my famous 3 a.m. defense. But anyways, he plays knight d2. This is interesting. So white play in the spirit of the Tarrasch French leaves black a little bit stuck for what to do. Mayday! Would you like to watch a pirate movie tonight? I'm confused about what we're supposed to do against this. This does look like a fun killer. That's what Karpov would play with white. This is totally what Karpov would play with white. You would say play c5. Wow. So c5, you're betting on a kind of gambit. Like if c5, they take on c5, you take on e4, trade queens, and you've sacked a pawn. There's only 4 games where c5 was played. Knight f6 walks right into e5. It doesn't look great. D takes e4 doesn't look great. Knight h6 is interesting. It's like a waiting move. This is a problematic position. There is no ideal move. But on the other hand, remember, his knight's on d2. It's blocking his bishop. He's not playing a very aggressive setup, so we don't have to do anything, let's say. I mean, I wouldn't go and play like e5 because I don't really trust that either. We're going to lose a tempo at best. D e5, bishop e5, knight f3. So knight d2, good move. If takes knight f6, what about that? The takes knight f6 line. I remember I had a game like this at the Boylston Chess Club 30 years ago where I took on f6 and he took with the bishop. I just plonked my bishop on h6. But the knight was already on f3 and black had played like c6 or something. It was an improved version of this. People take with the pawn all the time, which is a real buzzkill, you know. This might actually be a better move. I mean, of course, black is lost in the king and pawning game. You can't hang around. Arsenal fan, you submitted a game? Oh. Obviously, you're going to watch the World Cup. All right, let me check your chat ban. Chat ban in effect. Can't type, dude. Your name's too long, man. Just call yourself Arse fan. Fan of Arse. No, that's someone who's one of Arsenal's fans. Okay, block. I'm just instinctively drawn to the block command. Here. Okay. Get PGN. It's like the red button on Teams, formerly known as Skype. Copy. I can't help but want to like press red buttons. Study my studies. All right, another Arsenal fan game. Every week we have 2 Arsenal fan games. This is awesome. Paste. Double the Arsenal fan. Double the arse. All right, so back to Morales. 92. C6 is looking like probably the sensible thing to do. I'm gonna kind of go with that. I admit it's not very exciting. C5, your idea there. They take on C5. You try to play this endgame. There's also this idea of knight f6. This is kind of interesting. Charlie Story, the sniper guy, he lost against Tivyakov, but damn, the engine has this as equal. So it looks like Charlie Story was onto something here. Bro is onto something. This c5 is not a bad move. He later was outplayed by the Grandmaster. All right. So Arsenal, you get credit for that. D takes e4, knight takes e4. See, now the problem is if you play knight d7, you're going to get lit up like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on the f7 square. There's going to be all sorts of shit that's going to hit the fan. I can feel a bishop sacrifice coming on already. Maybe knight g5. Knight h6 is a move. So this looks like it's probably a mistake. Sorry. I mean, knight d7 is probably a mistake. Yeah, I would think knight f6 maybe not that bad. It's not that bad. But watch. After knight f6, you got to take with the pawn, bro. That's got to be better. Take with the pawn. Playable. It's solid. All right. So Morales goes here. He's obviously not playing the modern for a draw. Plays knight d7. Now this is extremely scary. We blocked our bishop control of e6. Many a miniature has been played, right? With like 10 move wins. Based on the f7 square. And then white here doesn't go for it. It's like, bro, what are you thinking? Morales pulls a fast one. Clearly bishop c4 is the move. That's the move. No other move. So what happens if knight f6? You can play knight h6. We don't have sacrifices, do we? Bishop f7, king f7, knight g5 check. This is not good. This is not good. Yeah, that's lost. That is lost because of the rather unpleasant queen b3 check. So yeah, I mean, bishop c4 is the move. Black's got to be extremely careful there. He's got to play knight on df6. And then you get stuck with a face hugger on g5. You can't get rid of. An offer you can't refuse. Yeah, so white needs to play bishop c4. He plays this. He plays instead this. Lame. My middle name is lame. Bro. What are you going to do there? There's nothing there. You got nothing on d3. That's just a stupid move. Playable fine. Ordinary move. But you lost your advantage, a lot of it. Castles, knight f3. And now Morales plays bishop g4. Difficult to play this type of position for a win for black. White is better. He has strong pawn on d4. The best you can do is trade knights on e4 and, you know, knight d7 and c5 and try to equalize. So I would recommend nothing else other than knight d7 here. The only other move that comes to mind for black is b6. With, obviously, the idea of bishop b7. So either you play You know, I mean, unless you can find some way to do the Arsenal fan. Maybe you can play c5. Arsenal fan? Jesus, this is playable. Oh my god. Bro, 5 games here, and nobody had the cojones to play c5. I was doubtful myself. Dude. How can 5 people be Wom? My old Shankar Roy, my old friend. Right. Damn, this is it. Take c5 and white takes. There's a secret for black. Go here. We play c6. You take. It takes this pawn. Hard to judge this. Rook b8. Castles. And who's to say that you have enough compensation for the sacrificed pawn? Unbelievable. This is like one of these lines I've played these gambits in the Accelerated Dragon. This is hard to prove that you really have enough compensation. But it looks like it's going to be about queen c7, bishop a6, knight c5, getting into d3. All the black pieces are like super active here. Very nice counterplay. Very nice counterplay. Of course, the computer backs me up. I just have the idea. You know, we have to calculate it. I wouldn't have been able to see that far and trust it. But what Morales says, this isn't good. This isn't good. This is not a closed position like where you can just give up your bishop and be like, oh yeah, that's a sound thing to do. This is a semi-open position, and you know, Leiko's gonna torture you. If you're not playing Leiko or a computer, yeah, I mean maybe you can draw, but this is not justified. And now white's just better. So it's a small advantage, but it's a very lasting advantage. I mean, black's supposed to be playing for like c5, but he just played c6. If you can't get at c5, you might get an e5. But the two bishops are just going to open up, so white's always going to be better in almost any scenario now. Bishop g4 is a big mistake, was a big mistake. Rook e1. So we're following a game from, oh god, 2007. It was 20 years ago. And now Morales got an e5. But again, open position, dangerous. Two bishops, a little dangerous. So he can't take because you win a piece with knight takes c5. He does have the scary bishop g5, though. Luckily, f6 is protected 3 times. So bishop g5 isn't that clear. Well, you can also just capture. I assume you would just play like pawn takes pawn here. And white has nothing clear. So he does this first. And now Morales trades queen. So now you're groveling for a draw, but I don't think anything better. Queen f6, bishop f6, d takes e5, knight takes e5, and white is slightly better. Dominating the knight. Rook fd8. Okay, fd8, threatening knight d3, bishop e3, knight d3, and it's a draw. Now, I expected him to go with the other rook. Is it just me, or is that weird? Why the e rook? Maybe he wants to like advance his a pawn or something. Rook a d8. Now, this is not a no-brainer because Morales is hanging his a7 pawn here. There you are. He went Capablanca. Well, I mean, the first thing I don't understand is like his rook's already sort of in play here. So why choose the other rook? Why not go rook A d1? It's not like his king can't get in the game. It can already walk to f1 and e2. So I thought this is kind of weird. Why he chose that? I would be curious. You know, it's like a tell. To me, that seems like a tell. He's telling you that he's intending to play a4. Yeah, this is unfortunate. That you don't really have an active way to play. The position should be a draw. Rook d5 is out. Rook d8. Rook takes d8. Bishop takes d8. Rook d1. Bishop b6. This has to be considered. It has to be considered. Rook d8. Rook d8. Bishop takes d8. He grabs the open file, but you have bishop b6. And he gets on the 7th. You damage his pawn structure and then defend passively. There's counterplay against that isolated pawn. I imagine this is a draw, but it's a little unpleasant. You may have a choice between different versions of this type of position. So rook takes. What about rook takes d1, giving him the file and then advancing your pawns with something like b5 that gives him bishop c5. This is very unpleasant. How about a dramatic move? No, you're not going to get in b4. Well, I was going to say, okay, if a5 maybe, with the idea of b5, b4, you got to watch this. So it's a tough one. You decide to sack this pawn. I'm expecting him to take, and then you have rook d2. And that forces him to play rook b1. Now his rook isn't as well placed as it was to push the a pawn or whatever. I mean, you should have excellent chances to draw. All right, you decide to sack a pawn. He doesn't take it, and now it is a draw. But I mean, what you did now is really, really weird. You both have dark square bishops, and you know you have 5 pawns on light squares, and he has 3 pawns. Half his pawns are on dark squares on the color of your bishop. So technically a little bit better bishop. You play a6. He has a way to trap your rook or something insane with bishop d4. Are you kidding me? You have an out here, but it's going to require really scary. Really scary. Yeah, this is very scary, like rook e1. Fuck. You know, oh my god. This is an insane nightmare. So if you play bishop takes d4, he has king e2. Now you have to sack the exchange with rook takes c3. And his king and rook are very active. I figure you're probably lost here. But it's not that simple. Jeez. So that's heavy duty. So he had it in the game too, huh? Houston, we have a problem. I guess, you know, it's possible your best bet is like some more straightforward exchange sack. But again, I think you're probably lost. Yeah. Well, I mean, so the moral of the story is what? Like, you don't have time to protect your pawn. So don't protect it. Oh, man. Any traps? Like C5, maybe. I mean, this would give you the following, similar to what you were planning, before. There's still danger. I mean, say the guy goes here. You have to watch your back rank. It's a real shit show. B6, bishop D4. I mean, is there any way you could survive with this type position? He's not guaranteed to be winning here. You could play F5, he comes down, check, King F7. I mean, it's scary, but you have some counterplay. You might be able to get away here. Yeah, you're hanging on here in this line. You just run it's really dicey. Move there. Okay. Actually, B6 is interesting. It takes away bishop C5. So on rook E1, you have King F8 now, which holds. This would hold. This would hold. Wow. So B6 holds. B6 holds. But A5, all right, A5, bishop D4, bishop D5, rook E1. Now, with another very difficult move, which is super counterintuitive, F6. Yeah, this was scary for you. You played A5. What's the difference between A5 and A6, by the way? Let's play A6. So put on the dark square. Unless there's a concrete reason we want to do that. I think you play A6 here, bishop 5, rook E1, and now whatever we need to do. It looks like F6 is the only move. And yes, this is scary. I would be very concerned you might be lost. The enemy says not lost. H4. Okay, you find only move after only move. Very easy to lose it. I would lose to a GM. Shit, how did this happen, man? Rook takes C3, rook takes C3. He doesn't have king F1. This is a move. So bishop takes A7, rook 5. Even better. That was the bomb. That was a bomb. That was a great plan. Rook D5. Okay, get that rook back to a safe position. Hard to find. A5 is not too bad. King E2, you're out of there. At this point, rook D5, yeah, I don't think there's any special value in that. Rook D7. And now A4, fixing your pawn on the wrong color. Did I tell you to put your pawn on the light square? Oh man, now it's awkward. Not enough for you to be lost. And now he trades rooks. Okay, I'm there. Takes, F5, King C2, King F7, King D3, King E6, King C4. You have one pawn on the wrong color here, and he has 3. Nobody in the world is convincing me that this is lost. But I have a question. Should you play B6 or not? It probably doesn't matter. Because if you don't play B6, it's fine. If you play, I don't know how long you can wait, but And the point is, like, can he go to like c7, c5 and create some sort of problems for you? Do you need to play b6? Yeah, b6, b4 is dangerous. We're not going to be able to stop that anyway. We can play b5 check. It doesn't look clear. Probably we shouldn't take, but instead just move the king or something. Allow this. I mean, just start hanging on. I find it hard to believe that white is winning without you making further mistakes. Bishop c7 seems okay. b4. Okay, maybe you're better off not playing b6. And now you make what it feels like a weird move, king e5. And if you take, is it that bad? He doesn't really have an outside pass pawn here. He has an outside pawn alignment, but it's not really like an outside pass pawn. I would think just take. I don't think that he's winning here. You're left with all pawns on the right color. If he plays b5, then you take on b5. I don't see him winning this. I just don't see how that's possible. Yeah. So this is a huge moment. It actually goes to show you that like putting the pawn on b6 probably would have been a mistake. So if we go back, you know, if you play b6 then b4, and then if you take, he takes, and now he might really be able to play like bishop d2 and a5. He might really be able to get that outside pawn. Or maybe like b5, c5. And on b5, you can't take on c5. So the huge difference, b6 was wrong. You know, you have to wait. Bishop c7 was a good move. And then when he goes b4, you take, and now takes. If he tries to play b5, fine, you just take. It's a draw. Because you haven't played b6. Don't put pawns on the wrong color. Almost always, it's a mistake. So after b4, you tried to chill with king e5. Maybe this is not bad, but you should eliminate that pawn. He's giving you a chance to trade off your outside pawn on the wrong color. You should have taken. This is a mistake. Now b5. Now you can't take, or you're like lost. So now I think you have legitimate problem. I don't think king e5 made a lot of sense. I don't see what it does. You know, this is the critical moment in the game. You play AB, it's a draw. But it's like, what is, okay, king e5 is a waiting move. I don't think you're like seriously threatening, like, you know, I mean, maybe king e4, actually. I guess if you have a threat, I don't think you really have a threat, you know. And then after this, I think you're in legit trouble now. So only f4 does not lose here. We have an interesting idea playing for f3. But the problem is if you play f4, bishop d4 check. And if you play king e4, he has f3 check. Which I don't think is great for you because you have to go back. Now you're lost. But maybe you don't go to e4. If check, you go back. But now you have like two pawns stuck on the wrong color. You want to go to d6? I don't know, maybe. But I don't like the fact that you have two pawns stuck on the wrong color here. It's definitely not good. But after b5, you play king e4. I guess this is threatening f5, f4, f3. If you were on the move, I suppose that's okay. Wow. I'm surprised he allowed that. Why white doesn't play c4? Oh, because of king d3? I get it. He doesn't want to play c4 because of king d3. That was your idea. So he plays king takes c6, you play bishop takes c3. Now this one pawn is a target. Bishop b6, f4. And you're losing real fast on the queen side here. He's too fast. So we finally reached table base. Well, I mean, after bishop takes a5, but takes. You need 1, 2, 3, 4. You need a million moves. It's lost. Yeah. So, but I mean, I got a bad vibe from a5, and then you did a good job after that and didn't play b6. But you missed your chance. You missed your chance. He played pretty well. I don't think he's like a genius or something. You didn't get enough complications. But I mean, this opening like variation you went into, it lends itself to a very, very, very safe position for white. You didn't get the kind of game you got against me in some of these simuls. Can we look at the position before what? Before e5? Why not we start on move 2? Move 11, what's up? Before e5. It's just the standard Leko-Sarawan type of thing, e5 or c5, otherwise you just sit there and suffer. The computer kills you. I liked e5. It's not obligatory. This is not a position where like if you have this position with two grandmasters and they play 100 games, white's probably going to win like 25 and black's going to win like 1. I mean, there's just no dynamics for black. There's no like winning chances. Once in a while white will blunder, but I mean, a lot of times black's just going to slowly get outplayed. And that's the nature of this position. There's nothing you can do to justify giving up your bishop pair with bishop g4 in the opening. You're just worse after that. And it's like a question whether your opponent has technique to do something about it or not. I thought the most interesting position was when Morales played a5. Because it's very easy to go to sleep and say this is a dead draw, and maybe it is. But this is a really hard move to find. I saw rook d5, but I didn't understand how effective this rook b5 idea really was. It's amazing that after rook d5, bishop takes a7, rook b5, he can't do anything. He loses a pawn back in every variation. It's like ridiculous. Rook b1, bishop takes c3. I kept thinking, and you probably were thinking about going on the 7th, which isn't as good because of rook b1, obviously. Although I think this is probably still drawish. It's a lot of work. Anyway, very interesting game. I got to go on. This is Miro on the edge. Miro on the edge. But never a5. Yeah, bishop g4 is bad. You've done that before against me. Everybody does that. Move 11 with the donating a tier 1 sub to Lady in Black 90. She's 36 now. The Lady in Black. That makes sense. Lady in Black is 36, born in 1990. Let's see. When I met her, it would have been around 2000, 2001. She'd be 21. I'm just kidding. I'm just making this stuff up. Okay. So, D4, knight of 6, C4. You know how people always make their screen names like their birth year? Either their age or their birth year. So Arsenal fan is playing D4. You got a break there, but he does sometimes play D4. Knight C3, bishop G7, E4, D6, knight F3, castles, bishop E2. So this is a 3-0 game? Yeah, no. 5 plus 3. So Arsenal doesn't know a lot of theory, and you can use that to your advantage in a sharp opening like the King's Indian. But apparently he knows enough to play the bayonet attack. You know, Kramnik's favorite 90s. Saji was playing B4 since 1990. I don't remember when I first found this move. Castles, knight c6, d5, knight e7, b4. I had a really nice monograph by Graham Burgess. But I don't think it was specifically about this line. You know, this has been around since the late 80s. A good boat name. Boat name. The Burgess. The monograph. So recently we looked at A5 with someone. Was that you? Was that you, Mirror on the Edge? We did an analysis of a game with A5, which turns out it seems to be like maybe the best. Though knight h5 is more popular. The traditional rule of like playing on the side where you want to attack, you know, always kind of applied to knight h5. Okay, a5 breaking up the queenside pawns, and now ba5 or bishop a3 are both moves. So this turns out to be main line. And now, yeah. Who played this against me? I'm having like dementia again, but I got this with white against somebody, right? And I can't remember who it was. This was the game where I had a panic attack over the board against Enrico Sevillano in the 1996 New York Open. And I thought I was having a heart attack. And I had to like keep getting up from the board and like walking around because I had like heart palpitations during the game, and I eventually lost. I had a really good position with white, but I couldn't concentrate. And eventually, like, you know, my heart palpitations like subsided, but it affected me so bad, like I literally couldn't sit down. At one point, I had to like stand by the board and make moves because I'm having like freaking panic attack. Um, Induced probably by like too much coffee or something. I don't know. I think I drank too much coffee and I was just tired, and my anxiety disorder kicked in. But that was really disappointing. Same exact position, I think. Enrico played pawn takes, bishop takes, probably like b6, a4, and it went on like that. But knight e8 right away. It appears to be a mistake, to allow c5 without a fight. c5. How does Arsenal know all this? Well, anything can do that to you. Anything can do that to you. Caffeine, cigarettes. I used to smoke at the time. It's interesting. I used to smoke at the time, for sure, but I don't specifically remember smoking. I must have smoked. I must have smoked. I must have gone outside. It was those days when they started prohibiting smoking in hotels, but not always. And like, it was 1996. I don't remember having to go outside to smoke. In fact, I don't remember going outside at all. Maybe I smoked in the bar or there was like a lobby where I could smoke. I don't remember that. That's weird. I definitely smoked in 1996. Smoking, coffee, not sleeping, they're all triggers for anxiety. And any combination of them can put you over the edge. But that was like the worst example of the game. I directly lost because I had a panic attack during the game. And Enrico probably had no clue what was going on with me other than noticing I couldn't sit down, you know. He's a nice guy. C5, F5. This seems to be a mistake. You know, you played A5 ostensibly to get your rook in the game, break up his pawns, and after B5, Arsenal doesn't follow through, but he shuts you out. I mean, he makes A5 look like a mistake here with B5. It's like a Polish opening where, you played A5 and then you just pushed past and then your A5 is just redundant. You can't just ignore him. Having played A5, you should take. Then you play F5. Or something. I don't know if I like this line for black personally, but apparently it's been played by even Geary. Oh, you can take here. It's ugly. It's ugly. There's a bunch of old games, even one going back to 1998. Ypishin. Ypishin was white, of course. Bishop takes with the idea of putting the knight on d6. Kind of blockading, but white is slightly better. All right, so this is a huge mistake. It's a blitz game. And then Arsenal counter mistake with queen b3, giving you a second chance to take on b4, which you again fail to execute. King h8, and now just trying to keep the tension too much. This is a strong move. You should play. He's threatening b6, like just absolutely destroying your pawn structure. If he feels hungry during a game, he'll resign immediately. Well, it's also not good to eat too much. It's a really, really tough balance. Walter Brown swore you should never eat a lot before a game. He would drink 5 cups of coffee and then had a heart attack in his later life and died, but who knows if it was related to the millions of coffees that he drank. All right. King h8, rook fd1. And then again, white just refusing to go b5. Here, attacking e4 now. But again, sometimes white can give up that pawn on e4 and then recoup it with knight d2 or knight g5. Knight d2. And now you traded the biggest decision in the King's Indian. This is clearly not a position where f4 really makes any sense. So you played f takes e4. There's absolutely no reason for you to not take on b4. I get it that, he can play a4, a5, blah, 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 blah. But that's, you know, actually not as bad as allowing this with b5. b5 is strong for white. You absolutely should not allow it. You know, he missed it repeatedly. And now after f takes e4, you're not threatening anything. Maybe e3, but I mean, to be fair, even this position, it's still in the cards. He could still play b5 with the idea of maybe even b6. Very close. And in fact, the engine is like, you know, some ideas with e3. But here you have this. This is a nice maneuver to get your d4. It's apparently about equal. That's if b5. But he plays this, and now you play knight f5. Again, I really think you should almost automatically play a takes b. Don't understand why we're holding off on that. Knight f5, reasonable move. Knight f6. And no, clearly the e4 square is key for white. I mean, are you going to get your queen out to like h4? And so that's why you took the queen. Knight e4, queen h4, hitting the knight on e4. But I mean, this queen is it's offsides. It doesn't really. Well, I guess there is f2. But I mean, that only matters if you can do something about the knight on e4, which actually might be the case. Maybe you can play knight d4 and then hit that knight with something like bishop f5. So white plays f3, massively weakening the dark squares. Very great knight on e4, obviously. You have bishop h6, dark square ideas, knight d4. You have apparently enough compensation for white's like queenside expansion. And now you went knight d4. And doesn't look like black has a concrete threat. But your pieces are starting to gain scope and I would say coordination. Just the queen on h4, it doesn't really do anything. It looks like it's sort of overplayed its hand. Queen c4. So apparently queen b2 is best. Well, that would certainly take you know, bishop h6 probably out of the picture. Queen c4, natural looking move. Bishop f5, now threatening to take, threatening to get into f2. And now he goes berserk with rook takes d4. Berserk has been called. So it's crazy about the tension on the queen side, but you're threatening bishop takes e4, just simply bishop takes e4. And if he plays bishop d3, he has checks. Really scary checks? No. The queen covers e2. So show me what happens here after bishop d3. All of black's pieces got way too much activity. He's never blocked you down there. You know, he let your queen stay active. Your bishop can come out to h6. You got the rook on the f-file. Arsenal fan was just like holding, but he didn't do anything. Now your pieces are really active. You have this break, opening the a-file. I don't know why you delayed that for so long. But the point is, like, after this, let's say pawn takes pawn, bishop takes, I guess. And now what do you do? I mean, he has pressure on d6. Do you have some sort of tactic? I mean, bishop takes e4 is nothing. Bishop takes e4. Where is your threat? So I don't know. You could try something weird like b5. This is not inconceivable. b5 to harass the queen. Force him to open up the file here, but then knight takes d6. This knight takes d6 is going to get really crazy. I don't like the look of this for black. We're going to lose our d6. We can't lose our d6. So d6 problem. But why does he sack his rook here with rook takes d4? This is really unnecessary. Rook takes d4, e takes d4. Just an unnecessary sacrifice. Bishop h3. I mean, you know, it looks no threat. It's like a hope chess move. You don't really have a threat. What are you threatening? Bishop takes g2? I'll just take it. I like bishop f5. He's undermining the knight in e4, threatening to penetrate on f2. But after bishop d3, oh, you mean like bishop h3 now? A move, you could do it a move later. Now maybe there's a threat. That's still unclear. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. It's possible. But why sack the exchange? So he got fancy. And d6. This is an unwise move, probably. You had bishop e5. I mean, his game looks bad, dude. I think he's just lost here. You have a really good square. I thought about h6 for the queen. He's got to be lost here. This is fancy, unnecessary. It's kind of cheapo, hoping for queen takes, bishop g7. But I mean, obviously here, check, king h1. Then maybe bishop f4. You took on e4, okay. Yeah, I mean, you're in control. And now there's no immediate knockout. You're up the exchange. You decide to sack here. I think this is reasonable. You know, this pawn might be enough. You're threatening rook f2. It's really killing. And if you look at the game in terms of fundamentals, like white really lost control of the center. I mean, so now he finds rook f1. That's a drag, but you're winning. Now just one simple defensive move. Well, let's say we want to keep him out. Yeah, king g7. The engine says king g8. Oh yeah, you have mate back on b1. Yeah, so king g8 is fine. You don't have to prevent him from coming in here because you had the mate on b1. So this is a huge mistake. And then it's at least a draw for white. He doesn't take the draw with queen d8 check. White is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's down a pawn. And he doesn't take the draw here. Oh, he has this breakthrough. Queen takes, king takes, and he has c6. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no, and your pawn's pinned. You can't play d3. Game over. Takes a6, c5, a7, c4, a8 queen, c3. Are you kidding me? That's not going to be enough. That's lost. That's funny. So he plays this, and now you're better. g4, d5, but, you know, realistically, I think you should get your king in the center. First things first. It was this time pressure. Okay, interesting game. I don't understand why you guys were leaving the queenside tension so much there. Yabata sent me this game. I don't remember. It's just a good game by Kyrgios, I guess. Kyrgios, 1970. One of the strongest players in the world. And the interesting thing, a player I don't really know, but his like, they had the photos of all the great Hungarian masters at the Hungarian Chess Federation, and you can see like these old historical photographs of the players from the the 50s and 60s and 70s and even older. And Daley Pater is one of these players who's like an IM. I believe he was an IM. I don't think he was a GM, but like Hungarian champion probably, like a strong IM. Played Kyrgios here in 1970. Let me check. It was played in Austria, European Team Championship. So if they're fielding Daley Pater on the Hungarian men's European Team Championship, then he's in the top, like 8 players in the country, which is very strong. I'm not sure about his history. He might have died young. All right. E4, C5, knight F3, knight C6, D4. Kyrgios is white, almost world champion. For those of you that don't know, Kyrgios never got a match for the world championship. This is a Marazzi, which I think is interesting because honestly, Kyrgios, in my opinion, is a player that would probably be better suited for playing knight c3 here. Better suited for playing okay, whatever. I mean, he's universal, but he's an attacking player. I don't think the Marazzi's great for attacking players. Go watch the World Cup. I know we're going to lose viewers due to that. Slaggy or World Cup? The answer is obvious. So Kyrgios was D4, E4. He played both, universally, like Spassky. Okay, knight c3, knight d4. So this is a Gurgenidze variation. Queen takes d6, bishop e2, bishop g7. And now, normally white plays a host of moves here. Bishop g5, queen d3, queen e3, bishop e3. I mean, that's the most natural. Castles, obviously. So Kyrgios with an unusual move, bishop d2. And you see there's another game from 1973 and another game from 1975. This is like the Kyrgios variation, or Kyrgios. So he was a great Estonian, the greatest Estonian player of all time. Although, obviously in those days, Estonia was part of the Soviet Union. Bishop d2, with the idea of the queen retreating back to one of these squares, having lateral mobility, castles, queen e3, and now I've played queen b6. That's recommended in some sources for these types of positions. But his opponent, Daley Pater, playing another semi-natural move now by black with knight d7. But what exactly is black's plan here? I mean, I don't think the Kyrgios is going to do anything crazy like h4, but he does. But you know what? To be honest, Daley's move encourages it. If Daley hadn't played knight d7 here, I don't think that Paul Kyrgios would have played h4. The truth is that if black plays a natural move, I mean, what? like bishop e6. See, against Hug, he castled. This is a totally standard type of position. So Black encourages carriers to go postal here with h4, but it's probably sound after knight d7. The question becomes, like, what happens with White's king? Do we leave it in the center? Do we castle, king side, queen side? Knight d7, very dangerous. And then this is, like, super dangerous, dude. You gotta be kidding me. Have another pass the bomb. You know who you're playing against, right? Maybe this guy had a little too much Palinka during this game. If this was my teammate and my teammate's opponent was Paul Keres, I would be like horrified right now. Yeah, this is extremely dangerous for Black. Weakening the king on this diagonal. Already there's h4, h5 threats. He takes f5. Sometimes you take with a piece, but usually with like a bishop, not with a rook. Black takes with the pawn. e6 is weak. Nothing we can really do with it right away. There's f4 for Black. But that will also further weaken the light squares. So I'm half expecting White to play h5 now. And I imagine it's not a bad move. But instead he just goes knight d5. Presumably this is good. Simply attacking e7. Yeah, and so Black plays e5. So how bad can it be, right? h5, maybe Black can play h6. So check this out. This is interesting. I haven't seen this game. Queen a3, attacking the d6 pawn. On first glance, it doesn't look like that big of a deal. Black can play knight c5. He's blocking the threat. His knight can pivot over here. It looks okay. Yeah, you don't want to go to like f6, do you? You could go to f6, allow bishop e4. It's a possibility. There's also bishop g5. But knight c5, we're not really afraid of like b4. So this looks important. Maybe Black had to play knight f6 to challenge the knight on d5. Let's say White played bishop g5. What do you do now? I mean, you could just play bishop e6, for example. Then what does White do? Rook d1. White's better. It's very cool. This queen on a3 is very cool. The bishops are excellent. The white pieces get in the game. He's very good with pieces. Knight c5, bishop g5, and this looks like a problem. The e7 square. And that's why knight f6 might have been better. Queen d7, castle queenside. So now there's tactics like queen takes c5. I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't played h5. Knight e4. So the dark square bishop's under attack. What do we do? Outside the box game by White. Not obvious. Not safe. The king is not overtly safe at c1. Queen e3, h6 appears to sacrifice a pawn, but Black has his fork at the end on f2. Why not b6? I mean b5. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, this move... Okay, I'll start from the beginning. I don't like anything really about the way that that Dali played this game, starting with knight d7 and f5. I think that, you're in the right ballpark. Oh, there is a threat, isn't there, with this? But that actually, might be a good sacrifice for black. Takes, queen takes, a8, bishop b7. I would be a little scared of active pieces for black here. But let's just say we just take. But I agree with you on principle. Black should try to play actively and take advantage of the fact that white's king is not in a safe place. This move doesn't really do anything. b5 does make sense. Queen e3, h6, g4. Well, I mean, this is really what makes this like, it's a Sicilian now, right? I guess it always was a Sicilian, but it really feels like a Sicilian now after g4. Marazzi's a Sicilian, so now it's a kingside attack type of scenario. Sacking a piece, h takes g5, h takes g5. Knight on e4 is stranded. This is a threat, but maybe not because of knight takes g5. So is this fully sound? This is it. I mean, this is your last chance here with black. You got to refute white's attack. I would think queen f7. Maybe the point is, what, f3? f3 is bad. f3 blocks our mobility to h3. Say he goes here. We have g6. g6 is over. Oh no. Oh no. Wow, queen f7, g6 is over. It looks like. It's a tempo at least. g6, where do you go? Yeah, I mean, it's not good. So he tries to go here, attacking the pawn. Trading queens with queen g5. Dark squares are weak. White might have f4, but I don't think so. So there's only one move. This is very tactical. One move, but a very brute force effective one. Like Larry Christensen love Curious. I always like Curious. I have a bunch of his collected games books. But I haven't looked at them in a long time. Probably should. This is brute force. Just brute force. Another rook. Wow. Black's up a piece, but it doesn't matter. His piece is over there. It's got the cone of shame on. So it looks like it's over. The knight on d5 is a killer. If we go back, the knight was obstructed by queen d7. Makes you ask the question, what other options does he have? He didn't have any other options. e8, knight c7. The bishop could never move. But yeah, b5, bishop b7 would have been better. This is a great piece sack, though. Rook h5. Now black's lost. Clearly he's lost. And I would expect something along the lines of, well, g6, basically. Doesn't g6 work? It's possible that black could try some sort of desperate, like, blocker defense. That's not going to last, is it? That's got to be the only try, though. Let's see. It's holding. It's holding. It's the only move. It saves black. Unbelievable. So g6, rook f4 saves the game. So white to play and win. Is knight f6 check anything? Maybe. Bishop d3. He plays b4. Not worried about his king safety. I wonder why. It's remarkable, isn't it? If there's nothing near your king is safe. It doesn't matter. Black had no pieces near the enemy king. Knight a4, and that's too much. So here now I figured g6 is curtains. I can't believe this is as good now. White's win. But apparently this is more to the point. c5. Ah, here. So naturally bishop e6. And then a really brutal move. I mean, we're all expecting bishop c4. What else, right? There is this type of stuff here. But now he plays g6. That's really mean. Just now when there's no rook f4. He times it so there's no rook f4. Because knight f4, pawn f4, queen takes e6 check. Only now there's no rook f4. So g6 threatens rook h8 check. That's the real idea. What a brilliant mechanism with the pieces. Bishop d5, rook h8 check. Yeah, we saw that. Classic tactics puzzle. Beautiful. Rook h8. And now queen h6 is allowing queen g5, giving the queen back, I assume. So you don't want to risk that. You sack another rook. And then it's mate. Beautiful game. All right, thanks for sharing. Yubatis. Now, we have 3 more games. The Panikin Skywalker against Lavru Shah. Nimzovich Gambit of the Winnower. I'm sorry, not Winnower, but advanced variation of the French. So this is one of Nimzovich contributions. d4, d5, e5, c5, queen g4. And the idea is that we want black to take on d4, and then we'll normally blockade that with bishop on d3. It's a great weapon against weaker players, especially. Expert French players, not so much. I mean, first of all, black doesn't have to take on d4. I'm not an authority on this. I've played it in Blitz. But most players are going to fall for this. So they're going to take, and then... Now, I guess I always thought you go here first. But for some reason, it's possibly more accurate to go here first. Then black plays knight c6, and now you go bishop d3. And we saw there's even Sveshnikov. Sveshnikov, well, he's a huge expert on the advanced variation. And the advanced variation and the c3 Sicilian kind of are connected. He was, while he was alive, now deceased. So opponent here at 2371. A lot of times people are tempted to go for knight b4. Notice white's score against knight b4 because it loses time and it also loses control of the center. That's not necessarily a good idea. If black plays knight b4, we're okay. We can give him the bishop. We still have a lot of advantages. Knight on g to e7 equalizes well. That equalizes, except the fact that white is 4.5 out of 5 here. It equalizes. In theory and practice are different things. Obviously. Equalizes if you're a computer. So he plays this. I played this like gambit with white just on feel, many, many times. I like it, but I'm no authority. I know you can use your H pawn, but obviously one of the most important things, according to Nimzovich, is the strong point. So you might castle, play like rook e1, overprotect your strong point on e5, bishop f4. Not not the optimal way to protect that pawn because the bishop's kind of obstructed. And another defensive move sometimes is a3, but not a purely defensive move because sometimes a3 you can play b4, maybe bishop b2, maybe knight d2, knight b3. You know all these things if you play the system. So black has two bad bishops. Cannot move. Well, his king is in the center, and that's often the problem in the advanced French, or the French in general. You have no space, it's hard to castle. So castle knight g6, most common move, attacking the pawn on e5. Opponent plays this. And there's only one game here. I'm not inclined to capture that necessarily. I mean, it's not going anywhere. If black plays g6, he weakens his dark squares further. And one funny move for you is kind of ironic idea, but you could play c3 at some point. Not typical for these lines. If you play c3, you're playing what's it called? The dementia's kicking in. The Milner-Barry. It's a kind of Milner-Barry. So you played this. Well, kind of takes c3 out. h5. Opponent's spazzing out now. And someone here played queen h3. I mean, queen h3 is a little scary because of g5. So I gotta say, probably White's idea there would be g4, but I'm pretty much fully creeped out and not sure I really like that. He could even sack the exchange. I don't know. This is kind of weird. I mean, on the surface, your move looks way more natural to play queen f4. It's funny though, like the guy actually beat an IM in that game in 2005 with queen h3. Black didn't play g5. Is there some kind of crazy idea? I mean, we don't have any sacrifices, or bishop takes f5 doesn't do anything, does it? It's like, yeah, but what the heck is White doing after that? I mean, it's very strange. I don't know. That doesn't look right. I agree. So here now bishop e7, and you were able to reinforce with your horse the control of the g5 square, which looks okay. Now if I were black, I would seriously consider g5 anyway. That would get the queens off the board, though it may not be enough. Knight takes, bishop takes g5, queen g5, queen g5, bishop g5, knight takes e5. Then you have bishop f6, winning material. Black would be required to maybe sack the exchange. Knight takes d3, bishop h8, knight takes b2, and now knight takes d4. When it doesn't look like White, is in really a bad place here. He's up the exchange. So anyways, it's not enough. So he plays rook g8. That's really subtle. You know, now we're at the point where I think you can take and play h4, and that's exactly what you did. And that's exactly right. And he's strategically like screwed now because he has this bad bishop and g5 is gone. Black would like to play h6, not h5. Very important. If you have this like bishop on e6, you want to be able to play h6, keep pieces out of g5. So you've got a very good position after this. Only question I'm wondering about is like bishop takes h4. You just take with the queen. Yeah. You just take with the queen. So bishop e6 now. White's totally in command. Yeah, great game. It's an entirely strategic, you know, blockade type of game. I mean, with g3, you could secure h4. You could just swap out that pawn on d4. a4 looks like a reasonable try. Now you decided to take, but I'm a little bit confused. So instead of a4, I mean, if you could take now, you could take now, and you were going to take now, you could just take now. Why wait until he plays rook c8? So knight takes d4, knight takes d4. Obviously, this is an issue, which we'd rather not lose the h-pawn. So I mean, I don't know exactly how we want to do this, in what move order. I was actually thinking about g3, securing that first, say then if rook c8, but you're always going to be facing some kind of weird counterplay, like he might get in g5 or something. I don't know that that's enough, but I mean, it's something. He doesn't really want to trade this bishop off, but maybe he gets in some kind of crap with like h4. So anyway, a4 looks a little odd, rook c8. And now you take, now he takes, now you take, and now he takes. And now you take on f5. And that could have happened in the previous position. But, you know, this position is a little bit odd. But at the end of the day, you waited until he played rook c8. He can't castle either side. He can no longer castle queenside. I don't know if that was a thing. But whatever happens, I just don't think that black is quite okay. Now he plays g5. That could be a tactical problem. But fortunately, you have queen f3. Now he goes g4. You can go back. No, you can't go back. You have to go to d3. Okay, d3. And now, that's fine and good, but you're still better. You're threatening knight d6 check. So he goes back to e7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 each. Black's king is still not safe, but he's staying alive. I didn't see anything you missed. Anything clear. Feels like black has just enough counterplay to kind of hang on here. You gave him just a little bit too much counterplay. It felt like around a4. You know, I still think he has something better here. Let's see. A4, it's still a top move. It's not quite the best. My g3 is not beloved by the computer. So it's kind of weakening your white squares around your king side. But anyways, all right, so you're always like a bit better, but he does have counterplay. Here you sack the pawn, upscolored bishops. You're a pawn down now, but it doesn't matter much in this position. I mean, the only thing that bothers me is this h-pawn. You got to be careful with your king. You could end up where like your king is, you know, g3, h4, h3. Your king is less safe than his king. So how do we secure it? I mean, g3 with the idea of bishop f4. That looks decent, but you have to calculate this. And then on bishop f4, can he get something going against you on the h file? In the game you played rook e1. Okay, that's a good move. That's a very good move. Still nothing concrete. A6, B3 with the idea of bishop A3. That's another great move. And now H4, but it's too slow. Bishop A3. Now he's got serious problems on the dark squares. So he plays queen d7, very passive. The other option is this, but that would have allowed this, threatening a mating attack with rook takes c6 check. So he's forced to play defensively and looks really bad. Now I would expect you to play rook d1. Obviously you don't necessarily want to trade queens. He went h3. This doesn't do anything. Problem is his move doesn't do anything. It's all fine and good till someone loses an eye. But h3 threatens like nothing. And meanwhile, he's like getting brutally attacked. But how do you finish him off here? Rook d1 looks... Rook d1. No? It looks very good. You should have played rook d1. This is extremely strong. Oh, queen h7. That's a knockout. Also. So I think like he could try to run away with like king d8 there, but he's probably not going anywhere. You're probably winning no matter what. But yeah, queen h7. He has to sack the exchange. I mean, his only move is there. And it may not even be an exchange check, right? You're just winning outright. Ooh. Yeah, he's totally dead. He's totally dead after queen h7. So this was a waste of a tempo. And you didn't find it. You had it. You didn't find it. Finally, rook d1, which I expected 2 moves ago. And now the desperate g3. And now just to be difficult, you played f3. Well, obviously you can't allow pawn takes pawn. I expected you to take. I mean, it doesn't have anything obvious there if you take. But maybe this is the safest. Very possible this is the safest. Although actually, you know, if his queen were to get on this diagonal, you know, you're going to have to interpose on d4 either way. It's possible this is better. You could always put your king on h2. Well, not always, but in some cases. Anyway, f3 here, and then queen e7 mate. He overlooked it. Yeah, but an interesting game. Thanks for sharing. Arsenal fan is up next. Oh, blast. We had Iatan, no? We didn't do our director, sorry. I forgot our director. I overlooked him. Okay, our director against St. It's just a 3-minute game. So we're going to go over this pretty quickly. It's a blitz game against some GM working out of the Susan Polgar chess club in St. Louis. The Susan Polgar Billionaire Chess Club. No, that's a different one. Sorry. Susan Polgar one is in... Yeah, this isn't... They didn't let Susan infiltrate this. They were smart about that. But she did come to St. Louis to try to siphon off, like, the side. It's like, you know, when poker pros go to, like, a chess poker event to try to siphon off money on the side games. Like, that's why Susan Polgar moved to, like, St. Louis years ago. She wanted to siphon off money from this sort of side games. C takes d5, E takes d5, bishop g5, knight on bd7. I don't like St. Louis Chess Club. Whatever. Freaking anything sponsored by billionaires is bad. E3, C6, bishop d3, classic exchange variation. Bishop e7, queen c2, castle, knight gd2, rook e8, castles. Now, why castles kingside? It's the main line, but it's not as fun as castles queenside. All right, here, yep. Oh, you know a lot of theory. Now the grandmaster Grandmaster X went out of book by playing a5, which is odd. It's a little odd because White's last move signaled he's not going for like a minority attack with b4, but it's a 3-0 game. You know, people just they play random. Rook ae1, it's signaling a central play. Actually, this rook is oftentimes better on d1 because if you intend on playing f3, it's this pawn that needs to be supported. Often cases. So it's not easy to say where you should put your rook. You can see there's games with rook d1, rook ae1, rook b1. Now, if rook b1, then a5. But a5 is weird to play here. And you played a3. You're like, that's silly, you know. He just made a random move. Now you're reacting to his a5. But what does a5 do? It's nothing. He played a move that's not appropriate to the position. You shouldn't react with a3. His move has nothing to do with this position. You should go in the center, probably. I mean, f3 is the normal plan. I've even played games where I like come back, like bishop f2, secured this. You know, maybe a3 is a bad move, but you know, it would have been played in a different order of moves normally. b5, yeah, it's anti-positional. This is really ugly. It's just a blitz game. The guy's kind of messing around. f3, and now g6. Okay. So with g6, sometimes black has knight 96, knight g7, knight f5, or knight 96, knight g7, bishop f5. This is not an unusual plan here. I think your rook, again, at d1 secures the d file in case you try to play e4. Your d4 pawn has to be protected. Sometimes king h1. You play bishop h4. This is also, as I said, a good idea. Knight e6, bishop f2. So interestingly here, there's two games where grandmasters played black, and the players with white were weaker. But b5 on the queen side, it's pretty weird. You know, I don't trust black's position. It's very artificial what black's doing here. White should be better. Bishop f2 makes sense to me. That's what you played. And now Rabiega played bishop a6. I remember playing blitz games with him on ICC. He might have only been an IM at this time. I think he became a GM eventually. It doesn't play that much now. He's like my age, probably. German grandmaster with a Portuguese name. Bishop f2. Bishop a6, I would say, does look like a decent move. Your opponent played b4. And, well, I guess his plan is to play bishop a6 anyway. A takes b4, a takes b4, and now knight could go to d1. This is more active. He plays bishop a6, trading off your good bishop. But at the end of the day, this pawn is weak, you know? And I think that's the problem with black's entire plan, you know? Like, expanding on the queen side with a5, b5, and stuff, it feels kind of reckless and loose. And I don't think it's objectively correct. Bishop a6, rook a6. Now you play knight c5, but that doesn't seem right to me. The problem is that Ia10 always sends me these like bullet blitz games, but not really, you know, worthy of serious analysis. Because eventually we start making like blatant mistakes. Your knight is a good blocker on a4. You have an open line against the c6 pawn. c5 is under control. So I really don't think I love knight c5. I mean, I don't know why we're playing that other than it's a blitz game and we need to make a move. B3, knight C1, rook D1, king H1, H3. Yeah. So this is an important lesson. This is a bad move you're playing because it's a blitz game. But you lose a lot of your advantage here. You no longer have play on his backward pawn. Now the Grandmaster is no longer really worse. You do get a square for your knight, which might be enough. His pawn on b4 is sort of artificially isolated. You totally changed the position now. Look, boom. The guy's finding tactics, forcing you to play a move you weren't really prepared to play, e4. Boom, decimating your center. Yeah, this is very double-edged, but you're completely in a... You went from slightly better to unclear. Fe4, and I'm concerned about this. You do have prey, the prey at f7. f7 is screaming. Rook d1, queen c8, queen c4. So c5 is triple attack, but you have f7. So he has to defend. And now you eat his pawn. But probably he has compensation. Rook b5, queen c3. And now bishop f8. So he's down a pawn, but he's a grandmaster. He has good technique, and this is your extra pawn. I mean, all of your pawns are sort of vulnerable, whereas blacks are very compact and back. So ultimately, you're not really better. I would think like h3, keeping the knight out of g4. b4, okay, h5, now definitely h3. Why don't you play h3? This is such a good prophylaxis. You're putting your pawns on light squares. Queen b3, threatening f7. Queen b7, attacking b4. Rook b1, passive. Rook b8. And now knight d4. And you're going to have to trade everything now. Trade. Bishop takes c5. So you have to play bishop takes c5, bishop takes c5, knight takes c6. And then like bishop d4 check when you might be winning. But I mean, it's a blitz game. Bishop takes c5, knight takes c6. Oh, he has c5. Okay, so it's a draw. Rook e4, e5, e5, rook c1, rook e7, c6. And if c6, you overextend your pawn. Anyway, it was a draw. All right. It should have been a draw, but you lost on time. Okay, final game. Panikin Arsenal fan watching the World Cup. Enjoy the World Cup. Everybody left to watch the World Cup. I have 3 viewers because of the World Cup. Okay, Arsenal fan, here's your World Cup game. Thanks for leaving to watch the World Cup. You guys suck. By the way. You're playing black. It's a Steinitz. Very solid setup for white. The bishop can actually preserve itself. Yeah, so this is like a main line. You know, could you have swapped pieces there? I mean, this seems like a sensible thing to do, man. To be honest, Arsenal fan, you're playing a title player. You're playing the Steinitz. You're supposed to trade pieces. Black is undefeated in 6 games here. Even Griezmann played this. Oh, no, sorry. He's not the football player. Who's your pick for the World Cup? France? Anybody? France? Bishop f1? Belgium? So it looks like bishop f4 is white's best. But Arsenal fans should trade pieces in the Steinitz. Very classical play by white. And now it looks like black ran out of ideas. Told you should have traded pieces. Now your queen is not happy. So why not bishop g7? I need a really good reason for you to not play bishop g7. This is dubious, man. I mean, a lot of people are just going to stuff you with g4 there. But he doesn't care. I think that white also... This is like a simul. But white also probably guilty of playing it overly simplifying way here. But I see he might have stuff against f7. Some sort of bishop c4. Knight h5 feels absolutely wrong. I really don't understand why you don't play bishop g7. This is such a weird, provocative move. And now bishop c4. Looks like white is clearly better. Maybe you have queen f6. I still feel like white is better. Let's see. Yeah. It's still better. I mean. So he does this, though. That doesn't feel right. You know, knight d5. You can play bishop g7, too. But we're going to maybe... You lose a pawn if you do this. Bishop g7. g4. Knight f6. Knight f6. b2's hanging. So you don't have to take, but taking is a very important move, obviously. Your knight's mission to the side was very dubious. White in some time pressure trying to keep it simple. Clearly a player who keeps it simple. And now, I don't know if I like c4. He inhibits his own bishop with this move. It's obviously okay. Now a lot of dark square weaknesses. I'm starting to like black. I feel like, yeah, white's solid and trying to play solid the whole game, but he's... Now you have bishop c3. You just gotta not hang your h pawn. You should play h5, I guess. The white can try g4 like Karpov. Yeah, I think here, you know, this is a serious move. With the plan of bishop c5, bishop e4, bishop c5. The only problem is after rook here, does he have bishop takes h6? And if that's the case, you have to play h5. And I'm not that afraid of g4. You can probably takes, you know, takes, and bishop e4. But I am a little bit concerned about this. Maybe he could prevent you from executing the plan that you wanted to execute with bishop e4, bishop c5. And if that's the case, we could have some kind of problem. So anyway, that's what I would be thinking about. But what you did is, is okay, right? Rook e7, yeah. And black is comfortable. Probably a draw. Now he threatens like this, but his c4 pawn is weak. Yeah, that's very awkward. Oh, mate. Wow. And now you're threatening rook here, rook here. Wow. He has bishop e2. Hanging on. Whew, bro. If rook e3, maybe he can play bishop d3 with a knight e5. I think you got him with rook e3. No? It's really close. How does he defend after e3? Bishop c1. No. Bishop c1 and h6 again. Here. Bishop 4 on your knight. Knight 5. Now he snaps your pawn. And then a pawn. You're better. You tried knight e5 instead. Okay. Here. Oh, you have knight d3. Beautiful move. White's hanging on. Knight f4. You got the dark square. F5, keeping e4. This is probably a mistake. King h7. Go ahead and play f5. He's paralyzed. Accelerating in here. This way you're kind of stuck. Your king's not going to do anything on h7. Ultimately, just play f5. You end up doing it anyway. Yeah, white's going to get a draw here, but you win against a human. Definitely. You have rook e2, but it's no big deal. That drops a piece. Yeah. He played very safe this game. Now c5 crazy by c5 is like a losing attempt. Arsenal being Arsenal fan. We're seeing a structure. Always in balance structure. Opponent has two bishops. Bishop e2, a5 here, d4, and yeah, you're lucky you're not worse after isolating your own pawns there. Play very solidly. This is a bad decision by white. Never ever trade, but he was frustrated by the bishop g3. He did a good job. Trading rooks would be like, hey, maybe he saw this, he didn't like it. Like takes bishop e5. Yeah, he's right not to. Actually, this is scary. He could totally lose this. He didn't like that, so he wanted to go for k1. So that he technically played bishop e1, but you're better now. You should absolutely trade bishops, and that's exactly what you didn't do. Bishop e5. You're still a little better. Good game, Arsenal fan. Draw with F. I'm International Master William Pascal. Enjoy the World Cup.